Hi Leo, have you neglected yourself this month? Is it maybe time to regain some kind of sense of perspective and see things maybe from many different viewpoints and see what got derailed and why, and see how that actually served you? Leo, this is definitely a month to kind of like re-engage life and to gain a perspective. So stay tuned. Let's start. Hi Leo, and welcome to your basically Gemini transition reading. So for the month of basically June, from the 21st to the 21st, 1st of May to 21st of June. And also, just to preface this, guys, it's always the best to check if this doesn't resonate fully. That's kind of like hardly to be expected given for how many people I read here for, but check your ascendant and check your moon. They are going to be giving you also tidbits of information. If you're cross-watching, also check all of that for them, as well as their Mars sign. So that kind of can give you complexity also. And never a private reading is to be exchanged for this one, because this can actually be completely different for you. But let's start. Check this out. This is like what jumped out. Love yourself first. And I don't necessarily follow this kind of Disney explanations, but love yourself first, and yet we are seeing a couple over here. It is clearly telling me that and you guys are the sun. You are basically the center. You like to be worshipped. You like to be, kind of like lavished with praise and everything, but you also are very giving. You're also, it's kind of like with you is huge give and take, it's never like just me. It kind of like it really flows. Yes, you sit on your kind of like throne, but you really take good care of your basically, let's call them servants for what they are. So love yourself first tells me that you kind of like maybe fell and scratch your knee, or somebody scratched you or scarred you, where you need to kind of come back to your center with love yourself first. It's kind of like you're off your own tangent, and this kind of would make sense, of course, joining it with Milky Way, which, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm really big on stars. I, as a child, was looking at the sky and wondering, where I want to travel. I always wanted to be one of those people volunteering and just going somewhere, right? And the Milky Way is said to be one of billions of galaxies, and if you are part of my Facebook, I kind of like sometimes post these like kind of science things to really see how each of these little dots is a real galaxy in itself. It just like it could be solar galaxy, like right where we are, right? I think it contains between 200 and 400 billion stars, right? And it is basically known to us because the sun kind of like is kind of like the closest to it, right? So I don't know, like, I mean, I think the oldest star in the galaxy is like 13 or 14 billion years old. It's just like, I think Milky Way almost like redefines the universe itself, because sort of like it feels like that it has happened whenever it happened, which of course we don't know really what happens there, right? So we are talking here basically huge enormity and vastness, right? That kind of like staggers the mind, which here, just looking in a small picture, we are just in this dot is the entire galaxy, and where do we belong, who we really are. It is kind of like talking about maybe feeling small, and it's talking about the perspective, right? Or kind of like seeing the big picture, but also seeing a small picture. So I think, Leo, maybe you have lost your perspective, and maybe it is time to maybe step back. Maybe it is time to allow yourself to detach yourself, in order to maybe gather information, and that information is going to come to you from your senses. You're really attuned very well to it. You're very proud, and sometimes not even to yourself you want to admit that things are wrong. You kind of like, detachment doesn't really mean that you do not longer care. It simply means that you're looking things at from different points of view, right? It is like something that we have to sometimes take almost like a clinical look, which sometimes that is not clouded by emotions or judgment or shame or attachment to outcome, but instead just is. It's kind of like awareness of things, right? And it's just like a simple cycle of life, right? You have to know that inside of us we always have the witness, which is like that internal aspect of ourselves that observes everything in life, you know. I mean, this is well known in physics, that witness, just presence of the witness, can change everything, right? And here we are talking that through these lenses of awareness, you should maybe examine your experiences. Whatever, you know, I am addressing here could be physical obstacles for some of you, but for the others, emotional, mental, right? That you are just saying to yourself, I cannot do this, or I'm too old, or I'm too fat, or I am, you know, not attractive enough, or I cannot do that. And I think this is like where you fell out of center, right? And by doing that, you will actually be able to understand that big perspective that is typically basically justified by ego. And it's going to allow you to kind of like regain that clear vision, right? Even though, you know, sometimes people say the best way to prevent hangover is basically just to stay drunk. Well, you have that option, right? But you also have the option to kind of like come back to your own center, to kind of like pull yourself together. So let's see what we have on the bottom. Wow, we have Ace of Cups. So there is like some kind of coupling that either fell apart, or maybe somebody got rejected, or something just couldn't grow anymore. Maybe there was like engagement that was happening or supposed to happen, and maybe there's an issue with this. We are going to see when kind of like we get all the cards. Okay. Let's start. And that's a Safi Saf who basically decides that, you know, cards maybe need washing. So I really like this card. Oh, look at that. So I just repaired one card. I like these cards because they're really giving me good answers, and I'm never sure when I buy a new deck that I'm going to get it. So hence, forgive me. You deserve love. Oh my God, you are getting such important messages. Okay, I'm going to reserve that for later. Release your ex. Soulmate. Worth waiting for. Wedding. Holy boy, you had the engagement here, and now the wedding. Interesting, because you had your love yourself first, and also Milky Way. Getting to know each other. Deception. Give your relationship a chance. It is safe for you to love and trust. Okay. Let's see where we go with this. Whoa, you have the Judgment Karma card right next to You Deserve Love. Then, wow, you have 10 of Pentacles. Were you married, Leo? Because you have wedding, you have marriage. And yet, it's all these cards about releasing, and you're not feeling necessarily... looks like somebody pulled you out of your own center. That's kind of looks like what's happening. Look at this again. The soulmate reversed here. And we had the Ace of Cups, and now we have a Two of Cups reversed here. Or was it here? Okay, I'm going to do it this way for some reason. Here we have the Hierophant. And then we have the Hangman, 10 of Cups, and you also have 10 of Pentacles, 2 of Wands, 5 of Cups, Knight of Swords, and 9 of Wands. Okay, so shall we dance? It's kind of like a mix of messages that I'm getting right off the bat, because I'm taking this as a guide that there is like something that went off the rails, whether this was an engagement or even a breakup of something. In any case, there is like situation where you really want to go into. I can see this like marriage is like feeling of connectivity with someone, but that someone didn't want to go to the higher level for some reason, and things just like got sort of like, at the very least, at an impasse. So let's see. It was something that you really waited for. It says we're waiting for. It was something that was not easy. It was the issue of timing in your situation. And it could have been a third party, guys. Yeah, it could have been a third party. I think it was several back and forths in this particular situation. You have like 2 aces reversed now, and you also have 2 tens. It kind of like was one of those, I would say, very romantic dreams, kind of like, hey, and then they lived happily ever after. But just so it happened that maybe there was like a need to be choice made between people. Maybe somebody got engaged with somebody else, because this is the card about second chances. Of course, you see the old tree kind of like regrowing itself, right? But it is reversed, so something cannot be revived. And maybe this is why it is kind of left you puzzled with something that you really, really, really believed in, that just didn't happen. Because look at here, you have you deserve love, and then you have the Judgment. Whenever I see like my 4 karma cards, to me this is literally telling me something. One book is finished. You're ready to go and read another book. You do deserve love. Maybe you had love, maybe you want it, maybe you want it back, but it's telling you to release your ex. It's telling you that you deserve love. So this is telling me that this person was not the one for you. Oh my gosh, was it a Scorpio, Leo? I have like 2 Scorpio cards, and also Aries. It could have been, or have that intense kind of like energy that has experienced over here. It's even Sagittarius that I'm picking up on. And Capricorn. And again, don't go by this horoscope signs, but like it's kind of like really interesting that first 2 majors are both kind of like talking about extreme emotional engagement in a situation, something just like not continuing. Somebody, when the Tower reverses, I always see what happened here is releasing the past. Somebody just like couldn't see things the way they are. They were living in some kind of like false sense of whatever it is. You know how it was like the allegory of the cave, if you ever read Plato. And if you haven't, I would highly advise, you're going to look very important that you know that for starters, but you have YouTube kind of cartoon that quickly can actually tell you, or just listen to me for the next minute, where basically people lived in a cave, and they kind of like the small kind of like ray of sun, which was maybe coming through it behind them, it was playing the shadows on the wall. Remember that song, Shadows on the Wall? And to them, they were interpreting those shadows, and their entire life was basically based on the coding and everything that is happening based on those shadows, because they felt they cannot turn around. So, of course, somebody one day decided to be rebellious and to kind of like really go and find what is on the other side and where that string comes from. And this was kind of like a big no-no doing that. And the person did find some big rock, managed to kind of like get out, went in the world and realized, oh my God, this was all just a shadow. This is the real thing. That isn't. So he came back all happy to tell everybody, and nobody believed him. right? And this is like what this person does. This person is just like simply set in whatever it is, the boundary that they have around them. And it could be a religious boundary here as well, or it could be some kind of traditional boundary. But it's somebody who is simply not progressing, in a sense that they're also not doing well financially, I'll be honest with you. But there is like a need to release that. You maybe have received something from somebody who is just not willing, but I would say even more further, not able to understand what they're doing wrong. You know, sometimes people just get away with things and they think this is just okay, right? So you kind of speed and you drink and drive, and you get away with this, and you do it again up to one point when you hit somebody and somebody dies, right? So this is one of the things, not doing this, not realizing this. And here it's also like about the lesson that needs to be learned out of it. So I can see that this also talks about family lives. It's clear message that there was somebody who just didn't realize how they're affecting others, and that actually has to be released. Whether you're with a person and you're just going to release the history that is bothering you, or you're not with a person, you're simply going to just release it. Because whenever this card shows up in a book description, I really like that for this card. It's the time has come to clear your energy. This kind of is one of those things that I actually really agree with. She basically said during Virtue in her book that she suggests writing down our grievances, writing down what hurt us. Write down, my dear Leo, what took you off your tangent. Write down why you feel you deserve better. Write down what is your ideal picture of the family, because this is not just happiness over here. This is talking about emotional happiness, but this is talking about that you're integrating with everybody, with their family. They're integrating with your family. So it is much more. There is that bridge that needs to happen between two, because look at this here. We have all the signs, all the moon kind of part. And guess what? We have the stars, and then we have the sun over here in this interpretation of this card. So here is like talking about longevity, about elderlies, about youngsters, how this integration can happen. And something in this case, in your case, that integration was not happening for some kind of reason. Yeah, your King of Pentacles, which could have been your husband, guys. It could be that you're still married, though, but I definitely see a release of the situation, because certain things got just too hard. And as it said here, worth waiting for. I think you gave it a shot. I think you gave all you could. But it was just like something that you couldn't resolve without this person's involvement. And it simply kind of like, it eventually would break your back. Just like in this card, 10 of Wands is definitely talking about things are getting too hard. And this is not the best way to deal with things, right? Somebody maybe was not dealing with things in the most appropriate way. This to me is always talking about a married guy or married woman, somebody who kind of like stepped in and maybe created problems with the family, because it's surrounding with a tense, it's surrounding with kind of blocking the progress for some kind of reason. Now this kind of is really interesting, because the Hierophant is basically a wedding card in tarot, but not necessarily just any wedding, sort of like a very structured formal wedding where, you know, you say your vows in front of basically the priest or whatever is like your denomination, right, where you need to agree to certain rules. So it's kind of like needing to understand the concept and needing to understand that two of you have to be on the same page. Well, thou shall not cheat, thou shall love each other, thou shall care about each other, help each other, not take, not say, oh, you gain a weight, or your hips are too big, or you're not making enough money. This is kind of like card though of the structure, and actually I did see the Taurus as well, so I don't know, for some of you probably there is some kind of like Taurus, and I see Sagittarius as well coming here, coming really through it. Now there is a situation that kind of like got stuck, you know. It's sort of like need to kind of see things from a completely different standpoint. Yeah, there is like somebody who either cannot contact you or you don't want to contact, where you kind of like things just like went too far maybe with someone, where kind of like the battle maybe was lost. Or this also could mean that somebody is married and now you're isolated from this person, or you want to isolate yourself from this person. This also definitely talks about a wedding that is kind of like stuck. You know, like look at the cards are on the floor, the mice is ruling, the kitty cat is afraid of the mouse. It's kind of like everything is sort of like upside down in the situation, right? Where usually the hangman talks about sacrifice, really willing sacrifice, which wedding and marriage is a sacrifice for both partners. Now you have to kind of team up to kind of like do things together. So now I have the Magician, and then I have the Death reversed. The Magician is kind of like a good news after Hangman, because Hangman is kind of like end of one cycle, where you're kind of reaching a new level. You're reaching a better understanding of yourself, and this is also perspective, just like you had the Milky Way. And now the Magician is saying, you know, I can create something. I'm wondering if somebody's going to creep up from the folds and say, hey, let's do it. It does give me a feeling that either something like that is connecting to some kind of marriage, or it is connecting to wanting to be married and yet feeling stuck about that. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like one step forward, you have the Magician, but then you have the Death reverse, so one step back, because the Death reverse talks about unnecessary suffering. So this is the lesson that needs to be absorbed. You see, we go from 12 to 13, but the 13 is reversed. You're still not letting go of it. You're still not moving forward with your own plan. There is like, I think, a way of how you want to do things, and you're really connecting to somebody from the past, or a way that you have been loved in the past. You do have to understand there are many different approaches to love, and there is like not just like when you just go around it like a maze, and just like when you get there you hit it. Nope, it's kind of like different with every person. Sometimes it's very passionate, sometimes it's combative, sometimes is, you know, gentle, sometimes it's very romantic, and each couple has their own cross to carry, right? So let's see what's going on for you. You might actually well, there is a person who will be in your life, whether, you know, the same person with whom you are, looks like you're thinking about closing something, or I'm still not seeing divorce card though, but I'm seeing love yourself first, and I'm seeing release your ex. It is telling me that there is inability for you to be happy in this relationship, and the happiness is what you want, and there is inability for you to be happy because you actually do not know this person. We women especially, we fall in love with willingness to be in love, with looking at the other person and we go, wow, you know, like, I mean, he's so great, and then, you know, it goes downhill from that point on, right? So, but we never forget that what attracts us. We never forget that we really want them to kind of like open their arms and, you know, fly. And then we try to keep up, and we get frustrated. So I'm wondering how much of that is here. Yeah. Look, you have the Lovers and you have the Chariot over here. Certain things just got derailed because you have the Two of Cups. Certain things, guys, for you, it's just going to feel you want certain things. It's clearly, you need to get your center, because I also feel that you really want to go in a direction that is really not good for you. There is like this cycle of suffering that I see for you, that you really are choosing things to be hard for you. And you are choosing the form over functionality. What I mean by that, you're choosing to have a ring to show to people, some of you, than to truly kind of like say, well, let's rip everything apart. I just really want to see where this is and who this person is and who am I? Why did I lose myself? Because, you know, it's almost like two cars trying to run in a kind of like right simultaneously parallel next to each other, but then they either kind of like run away from each other or just collapse. And I see here lots of clash. I see clash that it should be a big learning lesson over here. So let me see how the month is going to progress in terms of lessons. I think you're going to get it. You're going to get that, you know, you're going to hit this perspective. Somebody was just like not showing you who they really are. Both of them are wearing masks over here. You could have been wearing mask and not to talk clearly about what upset you, because this is talking about thinking about where do I go from here? How do I move forward, right? It's sort of like a partial success. There is like still connectivity to the past, right? So here we see the cups, right? But there is also motion to the future. We have the swords. It's kind of like I need to kind of communicate that with me, with the others. It's kind of clear. There is you, the strength card showing up. You know, the strength card is renewed commitment. Strength card to me talks about, you know, winning so big. There is like the biggest battle that you can win. And it is the battle against yourself. And I can see that battling over here. And like especially you have 6 and 7 and 8. You guys are really on the right path. There is going to be a certain thing that maybe you're going to feel a little bit unattractive. Maybe you're going to feel that you're dealing with somebody who is unreliable, who is flimsy, and you're going to come to terms about who is who in this whole situation and what goes and what doesn't go. Deception is also the card that, of course, we always think, who is the deceptor? But we forget that sometimes that's who we are. And sometimes we really want to be nice and kind and loving, and we forget our needs in the process. So we are actually deceptive as well, because this lesson over here is that we have to keep asserting ourselves in the process, the same message that the strength card also talks about. So the environment. There is somebody who might be coming. It looks like somebody will be coming back in your life. Ooh, the Justice card. Somebody be coming in your life asking possibly for reconciliation. Somebody really has issues. Somebody is hurt. And somebody is feeling that the Justice card is always about balance, right? So when you need to ask yourself, like, what is out of balance and what sort of justice are you looking for? So now it's kind of interesting because they have a Hierophant and Justice, and again, that's marriage together. So somebody's proposing marriage. Somebody's really saddened about that and about possibly not being with you, because I can see here breakup. I can see here issues over either marriage or engagement, something that you waited and put lots of patience in, but you have lost yourself in the process, Leo. And it's a time to cut the cords. You have options. But the truth is, you have to assert yourself. You have to figure out, you know, that missing ingredient that you used to have, and somehow you have lost that. So here are your hopes and fears. It is safe for you to love, but there is like the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords reversed, it talks about harshness. It talks about facing harsh truths, right? And this possibly is the best combination for the truthful love, seeing somebody for who they are, not anymore loving the potential. And in your case, you're going to see somebody and going to see this like red flags over here, like Seven of Swords is always talking about betrayal, taking things from you just because they can, and kind of like getting away with that. But it's also talking about guilt, and it's also talking about shame. It could be self-guilt, it could be self-shame about something that hasn't been cut off. And look at here, we have yet another 7 reversed, and 7 of Pentacles is talking about stunned growth, something that is not growing. Well, it says open your heart, receive this energy. And I think, guys, you have, because you also have lots of 10s, you have 1, you have the Hangman, so there is like a switch. And I think this is sort of like what I see so far in the readings for June, that we are shifting. We have been coming to the end of one cycle, and you're kind of realizing what cannot be grown anymore, right? Which, you know, partners are partners. Some of them bloom in a full tree, some of them are still staying a shrub. Which one do you really want to be with? Because we do fall in love with potential, and everything else is kind of like trying to reach there, trying to be there. So let's see, the projection for this month is you guys are coming back to your center. You are understanding and facing your own demons. You're facing why certain things got derailed, and you're back on the horse again, back in the saddle again. You lost trust, maybe in people, maybe in one particular person, but like, I don't know, something. The Knight of Wands can be Sagittarius, but it could simply mean that either you're feeling renewed trust in yourself or in somebody else. Wow, you have 4 of Swords. You will need some kind of like rest and relaxation and pampering. The 4 of Swords is kind of like really intriguing card, because with 4 of Swords we are kind of like talking about giving our thanks for basically staying alive. Originally conceived, the knight will come back from the battles, and hence that's why you have the little altar over here, right? And burning incense and everything. So you actually are going to basically tell your own piece for things working out okay, and you are moving forward. You are moving forward again. You're getting that zest, you're getting that fire. This Page of Wands, the Knave of Wands, is like what you need, baby steps forward, but it is forward, and it is like something that I see you haven't had for a while. You guys have lots of 7s. I think you have all 7s, or at least 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you had the Tower, 5. I'm just missing, I think, 7 of Cups, which means that you guys have to start exercising your own choices and look in every single possible opportunity you can have. It's going to be a very complex month, Leo. You might actually have somebody knocking on your door for you to take them back, or you will want somebody to come back to you, but it's going to be a very tough decision, because it's going to be the equal amount, right? Equal amount between I want it and I don't want it, because there are going to be solid reasons for both, right? Remember, you need to grasp a perspective. You need to understand that you have to assert yourself and love yourself first this month. I have also drawn one more card for you, and let's seal the reading with this. You have Into the Unknown reversed. It says trust and all will be revealed. So what are the chances, right? And look at this. This person is also wearing a mask. It says this: inexperience plus overconfidence can lead you into a dangerous situation for which you are unprepared. Always remember that wisdom comes from experience. Keep an open mind and enter this part of your journey with alert eyes. Don't assume you know this territory. You may not recognize what's hidden by camouflage. This is not a time for careless adventure. So guys, it is really time to uncover what you want to be. You need to remove the blindfold. And I think that's really the key over here, because feeling kind of like stuck in that internal world, you need to win over your own self. Maybe you have to come to that end of deception, and that's the key. And when you do that, then it's going to be unknown, but you will be trusting yourself and trust that unknown. So my dear Leo, hopefully you enjoyed your reading, and until next time, please book a reading from me, because your private reading is still the private reading. You can check me out on catchsarah.ca, and please subscribe, like and share, and visit me on my Instagram and on my Facebook. Love you. All the best.